To it is another episode of Cloud Talk Live. Everyone, I'm so glad that you are here today. Let's get a lower third going. And welcome to the Know Before You Go. Get ready for some reInvent fun. This is going to be a great episode. But folks, I want to welcome you to Cloud Talk Live. Isn't that fun? Well, welcome, everybody. I'm so glad that you're here. All right, well, everyone, welcome to the program. So glad that you have joined us today. My name is Jeff DeVerter. I'm the Chief Technology Evangelist for us here at Rackspace Technology. Now, you know the rules. Let's click on that so we'll advance some logos and graphics. But I'd love for you to introduce yourselves. Tell us who you are. Tell us where you are. Come on, there we go. Just use those comments down below. Look, we've got people who are already playing by the rules up there. Let's get this where I can actually see things. Fantastic. Folks, I am coming to you from what is now finally a sunny Texas. It's been gray and rainy, but you know, it's been a bit of a drought out here, so we're very glad to have some moisture in our lives. So go ahead and introduce yourselves. Tell us who you are. Tell us where you are. I've got some great guests to introduce you to today. We're going to do that shortly. Hey, welcome. We got Sean from the UK. I love that. Been watching The Crown lately. It's been a good show with the wife. Curious what you think about that. All right, if you want to get a hold of us, just send us an email. Of course, you can just type in the comments now, but send an email to solve@rackspace.com. That comes to the whole production team. Daniel, Megan, Gracie, everybody gets that stuff. So you want to have us see it? Well, just send us an email, solve@rackspace.com, and, well, we will see it. And let's see, what else do we need to know? You know, all the audio from these events shows up in the podcast stream, but you're not going to get that unless you subscribe to the podcast. So wherever you find your podcast, head on over and subscribe to Cloud Talk. And that's the Rackspace Cloud Talk. You can see the logo there, easy to find. And I would love for you to go check that out. Now, folks, we have a big event coming up here very shortly. In fact, it's just in 2 short weeks. Here I am sitting in Texas, here in the great United States. And so that means that next week it's going to be hard to find anybody here in the U.S. because it's our Thanksgiving week, which we're very excited about. So I'll take some time off. My son's coming home from college. We got other family coming in. It's all part of the great rest and relaxation that we look forward to each year. Now, the other thing that we get to look forward to each year is going straight from that point of rest and relaxation, well, straight out into the mayhem that is AWS reInvent. And that's what we're here to talk about today. And I've got a couple of great guests to share with you. First, there's Josh Soldati. Now, Josh helps us lead all the strategic partners here at Rackspace. And I'm excited for you to get to meet him. I'm trying to remember if this is his first time on. Josh, you'll have to tell me when you get here or if you've been around these parts before. But we have brought a friend of yours from AWS. And so we're so glad to have Robert Swinkin here as well. He is live from just outside of Manhattan, up in the Northeast here in the U.S. Now he's had strategic partners over at AWS, and sounds like he just passed his 10-year anniversary. So we've got somebody who has done this before. So while you bring those up, I love to see that Susan is here. We have India here. Turkey is here. Plano is here. The great country of Plano. And of course, Massachusetts. So Robert, Josh, welcome to the program. So glad that you guys have made it here today.
Great to be here, Jeff. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for having us.
Indeed. So we got a small conference coming up here in a few weeks, don't we?
Little event.
A little gathering of intimate friends who spend every year together and know each other very well. Or maybe in reality, what it is 60,000 people who may or may not know each other brought together around the singular technology umbrella of all the great things that AWS brings to the show. So, Robert, I got to ask you the question first. How many times have you been to AWS reInvent?
Yeah, I joined just before reInvent number 2. Back in 2013. So this will be my 11th reInvent, and I think we had one virtual one due to the pandemic. So this will be the 10th one in person.
The 10th one in person. That is absolutely incredible that you... Now, last year was actually my first one that I went to. All the years that I've spent here at Rackspace, but that was the first one I went to. And it is a sight to behold. It is just geeks as far as you can see who are excited about technology. and treat all those announcements as if like they're the rock stars that they are, because it's the technology that's changing the world, isn't it?
Yeah, it's exciting for AWS folks as well. I think everybody's constantly asking me what the new innovations or the new announcements are going to be, but they keep it under lock and key. So when you meet somebody from AWS at this event, they're just as excited to be there and get the news as everybody else.
Yeah, yeah. So I guess you're not going to share any big secrets with us today, is what I'm hearing.
I
already
um,
tried, Jeff.
you know, if I had to guess, I think we're going to see some announcements in the area of Gen AI. I think a lot of the trends that we've seen in technology is to make things, more easy to use, more easy to scale, more easy to automate. And I'm sure we'll see more innovation in those areas as well. But as far as the particulars, I think it's wait and see.
Wait and see. You got to show up to hear the things. So, Josh, welcome to the program. So you're I don't want to call you a new racker. You've been around for a little while now, but AWS, the big show is not this is not your first go round, is it?
No, and I thought of myself as a grizzled AWS veteran, reInvent veteran, until Rob chimed in. So this will be my 6th reInvent.
Wow.
And every year it gets bigger. Obviously the pandemic, things took kind of a little bit of a pause, but I have a sense that this year is going to be back with a vengeance. Anyone who's maybe dipping their toe in last year, I think everyone's ready to go swimming now.
That's right. Hey, so while we have started into this conversation, everyone, I'd love for you just to let us know, are you going to be at AWS reInvent? I'd love to know. So, Josh, you've been there 6 times now. What are some of the highlights that jump out to you from previous episodes from previous conferences?
To say, yeah. So the one reInvent which will forever stick out in my mind was the 2016 reInvent, and that was the moment where I said, this is a different kind of cloud company.
Really?
Andy was up on stage, and it was during one of his keynotes, and he starts talking about the challenges of moving large volumes of data from on-prem to the cloud.
Yeah.
You don't want to do that over your T1. If you've got a 100 petabytes of data, you'll be there until like the end of time.
Yeah.
And as he's talking, an 18-wheeler rolls out on stage, and they've announced a snowmobile, which was AWS's like incredibly innovative answer to how do you move massive amounts of data, which have a lot of gravity, into the cloud. And
stick it in the back
the
of
whole
the truck
crowd
and
was
you drive it in.
Yeah, and I don't, and it kind of set the bar pretty high for big, blow your mind announcements at reInvent. But I think that's kind of typical for those of us who get to go to see these kind of really amazing innovations and things that catch you out of left field.
Yeah, Robert, what sticks out in your mind outside of an 18-wheeler on stage?
I was probably going to go with that one because it was a big visual representation. But I think it was several years back when we were you expect we're going to release information on new silicon, more compute instances, things like this. But it was the entire move when Dr. Matt Wood, our VP of AI and ML, started introducing the entire ML machine learning suite, the AI and machine learning suite, like well before everyone was talking about AI. So here we are thinking we're going to be talking about compute, and now we're talking about applications to bring machine learning and artificial intelligence into day-to-day use in corporate and make it be able to leverage it in such a way that was kind of seamless inside your applications, and the commitment to kind of driving above the compute level, deep into the application area, was definitely a standout for us.
Yeah, Robert, I'm really glad you called that one out, because I think it's important that everyone realize that even though there's been a lot of pretty high profile announcements this year, I think about earlier this year with OpenAI and some of the things that they've done, but the reality is that there is no way that a cloud company like yours could even hope to operate if you didn't have a solid AI and machine learning foundation. 1, just to run the thing, but then 2, to make it available for the world to use as well.
Yeah, and I think it's a big area of focus. I'm looking forward to new announcements. But if you think about all the work that was done, for example, on Alexa, right? That is an early example of generative AI. And I think our approach now is we'll have large language models of our own that people can leverage. But I think it's a democratization of those ILMs and letting people leverage a tool like Bedrock and multiple models so they can find the right one for the right application. And
that's right.
going to be interesting to see how that extends itself in the year.
Well, a show that's like this in size and in scope and in length, it takes a little preparation to get ready for. So, Josh, you've been down this road before. How do you get ready to go? Not just what's in the suitcase, but how do you, emotionally, physically, all of the things. How do you get ready to go to a show like this?
Gird your loins.
Gird your
You
loins.
really have to. Yeah. So, great question. First of all, it's going to seem very basic, but go to the reInvent website. I think AWS has done probably one of the best jobs of anyone in terms of helping prepare attendees ahead of time. One of the nice things they've got this year is this, and I think I've done it before, these hero guides. So it can be overwhelming. There are, I don't know if it cracks 1,000, but there are hundreds of sessions. reInvent takes the whole strip, so you're from Encore all the way down to Mandalay Bay, and if you know Vegas, that's a pretty big
whole
stretch.
thing.
So planning out like these hero guides kind of tell you what sessions. Like there's one for introverts. There's one if you're interested in serverless. There's obviously a guide for AI/ML, and you can go in there, and rather than you sifting through the hundreds of sessions, you can kind of see, all right, I'm going to focus on this. Looks like a group that I'll be interested in, and then also kind of try to plan it out so you're not going up and down the strip the whole time. You want to kind of figure out what home base is going to be. Am I going to be down at Mandalay Bay and I'll hit MGM maybe, or am I going to be out on the other end at the Venetian and Encore and Wynn? So using those hero guides to kind of get a sense of what's the group of sessions you want to do, and then figuring out physically where you want to be is a big thing, because it can take a while to get from one end of the strip to the other. Everything in Vegas looks closer than it is because it's all so big. And that thing you think you can walk to, don't try it.
Yeah. The old Stephen Wright joke. Anywhere's walking distance if you have the time, and it takes a lot of time in Vegas to get from one place to another. But wait a minute, did you say that there's a hero guide for introverts?
Yes, I was looking through, and one of the AWS heroes, an engineer, basically it's for hands-on technologists who really just want to sharpen their skills and aren't into doing these like really heavy interaction type things, or just want to be able to go do their thing. And I thought it was a really great guide.
That really is a great guide. So I want to learn some things, but I really would rather not talk to people. I think that's what I hear when you say that. But Robert, that makes me, I want to go back to you for a second. One of the things that I think is the biggest value, not just of this conference, but any of these conferences you go to, is the networking. How do you meet more people? How do you expand the people who are part of your circle? So what recommendations might you have for how to, sharpen that networking game when you go to the event?
So, I think the first thing is, and Josh alluded to this, don't wait until you land in Vegas to make your show, right? There's a lot of tools available. So all the events, so if you go into the reInvent registration page, once you've registered, they have all of the major events are detailed and planned. All the sessions you may want to attend, you can register in advance and build your show plan. If you wait until you get there, most of the things you may want to do are shut out. And
but somebody just commented up there. They said, hate it when you get to the room and it's full.
Yeah, it's tough, and it's this balance about trying to accommodate everybody. But back to your original point, besides the big broad events that are all planned and all calendared to give people an opportunity to network and mix, there's tracks now by industry. So if you're in the financial services industry and you want to meet other peers that deal with similar challenges, whether it's regulatory or technology, they're going to be tracking, or you have the ability to track and go to events and go to sessions that are very specific to your industry. And it ranges all the way from advertising and marketing to travel and hospitality, telecom, life sciences, healthcare, et cetera. So I think the show planners are really trying to give people the opportunity to network and interact with people who are dealing with common challenges. So I think that's a great innovation this year. So it's an opportunity. And the second thing I would say is, if there are people you're interested in meeting, or there are events you're interested in getting into, your account manager at AWS, if you have one, right, for your company, wants you to have a great experience. It's, you're a customer, and under the rubric of customer obsession, it's in their interest to make sure that you have a great experience. So they'll probably have some tips and tricks. They'll probably be able to help guide you and help you plan, just to make sure that you have the best possible experience you can. Yeah.
Now, one of the parts of the experience is the Expo Hall. Now, the Expo Hall is where all the partner companies show up to show their wares. Now, I'd love to know, strategies for navigating that place. But I know, Josh, there's one place that most companies should start their conversation when they get there. So you go through the front door, and where do they go first? I think it's booth 450.
I think it might be booth 450. I think there's some cool
And
stuff happening there
who
this
might
year.
we find there at booth 450?
Well, you might find a few rackers. So
You might
we're going to
find
be
out.
at booth 450.
That's right.
Yeah, so I'm really excited by our booth this year. We're going to have this. We have a really cool sort of activity people can participate in called the FAIR Adventure Quest. FAIR is our foundry for AI by Rackspace. We obviously have a big practice and program around generative AI that we're running with AWS.
Yep.
And it's a cool virtual reality event where people go in and create their own generative AI avatar, and then they'll do a game where they are trying to find the missing AWS services. When they find all of them quickly enough in this sort of VR reality, they they get a score, and there'll be a leaderboard, and there's prizes. But more importantly, have an opportunity to learn about how do you take advantage of the power of generative AI on AWS, and learn more about how do you manage your data estate, how do you drive app modernization and migrations. We're gonna have a big team there, can answer all your questions, so you can have some fun and probably learn a few things too.
That's right. All right, enough selling. Now let's talk about some strategies for dealing with the Expo Hall.
Well, go ahead, you Rob.
No, I think pre-plan. I mean, it's a giant space, and there's a lot of great technology companies represented. Obviously, Rackspace and others. So all the sponsors and the show plan is right there on the app. So figure out who you absolutely want to hit, and map that out and make a plan, but also leave some extra time to learn some new things, right? There's going to be great software companies who have great tools that you might be able to leverage if you're a developer. So there's a lot of information. Then AWS also has pavilions staffed by experts. So if there's something you want to know about the platform, whether it's a technology area or an industry, you're going to find people there who have a vested interest and deep knowledge there as well. So I think planning for some pre-programmed planning around who you want to see, but then also leaving opportunity for serendipity is a great idea. And bring an extra bag for all the swag, of course.
Yeah, the trick-or-treating is pretty
swag.
good in the room. I have to admit, there's some good stuff that's there. So yeah, Susan, of course, is calling out what everybody's calling out, and that is prepare, prepare, prepare. You've got to have a plan. Go into something this large. You want to make sure that you're getting good output from the investment that you have going into it. So one of the other areas is in Vegas. There's a few things to do that maybe are not directly attached to the conference. You can have some fun in Vegas. Josh, what are some of the things you like to do when you go there? Shows you like to see, food you like to eat. You can really get anything you want in Vegas.
Oh my God. So I am a Vegas fan, I have to admit. All the Cirque shows are great. I don't think I've ever seen a bad one. If you're a fan of old school Vegas, I'm talking Rat Pack, old school Vegas, go check out the Golden Steer. The Rat Pack used to go get their steaks there. Go hit Fremont Street where the original casinos are. That's a lot of fun at night. If you like some of the newer Vegas, Bellagio fountains are a must see. Yeah. It may not sound like much. If you've seen it on television, I can just tell you haven't seen it. When you see it in person, it's pretty mind blowing. Try to go at night if you can. High Roller is a new thing, a new attraction there in the last 5 years or so. That's a great view of all of Vegas. And I haven't seen the Sphere yet, so I'm pretty excited to check that out. That looks mind blowing. It's that giant glowing sphere with the completely surrounded
inside and out. It's the most incredible thing. Yeah, I haven't seen it yet either. I can't wait. How about you, Robert? What do you like to do when you're in Vegas?
I think Josh has some great suggestions, and the Murano glass sculptures in the Bellagio are also fantastic. But there's also a lot of natural beauty. People don't think about that. Now, it's hard if you haven't planned to come in early or leave late, but if you have any flexibility in your travel plans, right? The Grand Canyon and the Hoover Dam are they're stunning sights, and there is people sometimes forget the natural beauty that's in the area. And if you have time to take it in, you can do it very expensively with helicopter tours, but there's also less expensive options as well, and it's worth seeing.
That's a great comment. Now, back on the networking side, Susan makes a great point, and that is try to meet two new people in every event you go to, whether it's a breakout or a conference session, a teaching session. So meet two new people, connect with them on LinkedIn, post that you've met these folks, begin a conversation with them. Folks, we can learn things, but there's so much to learn as we leave these events. So you're gonna get snow shovel data into your brains, and how that then gets metabolized and turned into productive things as time goes on. It's your network, I think, in a lot of ways that's going to help with that. But back to the comment or the topic of these announcements. Robert, you led with that earlier, going, there's a lot that's coming, and I don't know what any of it is yet. So there's going to be a steady stream, not a trickle, a steady stream of announcements that happen throughout the week. What are some strategies for keeping up with those announcements?
Yeah, I mean, Jeff Barr, if you're not attached to Jeff via LinkedIn or social media, he will regularly post. The show is going to regularly stream and update all of the key announcements in a compendium. And then all of those announcements are going to be distilled and made available to show attendees afterwards as well. So not only are the live stream and the tweets and the social media going to track it as it comes, but the company does a really great job of bundling up all the new announcements and information and making that available to show attendees afterwards. So there's no shortage of information. And I think an important thing about reInvent, it's not only who you meet while you're at the show, right?
Yeah.
Even if you miss a session, they're going to be archived and available. So keep, it's not only what you attend, but keep a list of all the things you wanted to attend. So even if you can't, you can still get a virtual experience. You can still be introduced to the people who are leading those sessions if they're work at AWS for follow-ups afterwards. So it really gives you a great opportunity to ground your learning strategy, but then use it to really extend it well past the event.
Robert, I love that you said ground your learning strategy. That really should be a core tenet of you as an individual. In the old days, I'll call it old corporate America, we used to wait for the 1 or 2 weeks of training that we would get each year from our company and just sort of take that and move on. But our education, our own careers are in our own hands. So we're going to these conferences. We are sent there generally by our companies or the companies we run and own. But it's up to us to distill the value. And you make two great points there. The first, of course, is this is your journey to own. The second is that if you can't get to everything, and you can't get to everything, keep a running list and even I like to set, for the next month or so, even more, an hour or two a week, set aside a lunch, a coffee break, where I can go back and watch some of the things that I wasn't able to attend. Josh, how about you? Strategies for keeping up with the steady flow of content coming out of the event?
Yeah, well, I think, first of all, what Rob mentioned, but also there's an app you can download as well, the AWS Events app, and you can get alerts through that.
Yep.
So I make sure that I have that on my phone before I go, that I'm logged in. Because you only do these usually once a year, sometimes you might forget your password for your AWS event login, but it is the same one you use to register. So I find that's another great way to stay up on what's happening at the conference.
One of the things as far as hints to know before you go is they'll be published all of the different places where you can register once you get there. My favorite place is in baggage check or baggage claim inside of the airport. But to your point, Josh, don't wait until you're standing in that line trying to log into the app. So that get all that stuff worked out in advance. So are there any sessions? Have you spent any time in the app yet? Anything you're looking forward to hearing when you're there outside of the big keynotes? Dr. Vogel's and such?
Well, it's for, my challenge is going to be, given the role that I have, I will be running around from meeting to meeting quite a bit of the time, between customer meetings and meetings with our AWS partners. Truly, the keynotes is one of the things that I'm going to try to make sure I have time to do. That's where a lot of the big announcements happen. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to Adam's keynote, Swami's keynote. I'm sure we're going to learn a ton about new offerings on Bedrock and other, and developments on the on the processors. Ruba's keynote because we're a big partner, and then Werner's is always great, even though I can't always follow all of it because it goes pretty deep in the text sometimes.
He does.
He's really entertaining, and I learned just enough to be dangerous. So that's going to be kind of where I'm focused. I did on the session side. There are the ones that I'm interested in. There are a few that are specifically around responsible Gen AI, and as you know, here at Rackspace, we're super focused on sustainable, responsible AI, and I'm very interested to see what's happening in the market.
Yeah, indeed. How about you, Robert? Anything session-wise that you're looking forward to?
Well, quite frankly, I think Josh really covered the full gamut, and it's worth noting that in my role, again, like Josh, I've spent a lot of my time in meeting rooms and with customers and partners as well. But I follow my own advice, right? I actually make sure I bookmark everything I want to see and everything I want to hear, and if I don't catch it live, I watch the live stream later, either in my hotel room or as soon as I get home, because I think the content is super valuable. Even, and I say this with all sincerity, even as an AWS employee, I learn a lot every time I go.
Well, we've danced around the topic of how do we follow up on some of this stuff after the fact, but let's talk about strategies for post-event follow-up. We're going to have to do a bunch of networking while we're there. We're going to learn things while we're there. We're going to meet new friends while we're there. So what are some strategies that you guys have for making sure that this isn't a one-week flash in a pan? Josh, we'll start with you.
Well, for us, reInvent is it's the biggest thing we do all year. Yeah. AWS is our biggest partner, and so we will have a whole post reInvent debrief where we get all of our leadership together, everyone who's there for the show, and we kind of we pull together all of our learnings, sort of the key meetings we had, the key things we heard from sessions, and then we'll publish out a full set of kind of notes and actions. And then what we will do is then we'll start scheduling. Again, this is more how we're running things, but we'll do like a bi-weekly progress review on all the follow-ups, because coming out of all these meetings and sessions, there are going to be dozens and dozens of follow-ups. And the worst thing to happen is everyone gets excited, everyone learns some stuff, everyone has some ideas, and then they go back to their day job. Right?
Go back to the day job, and then we got the holidays too. I mean, that's insult to injury on timing.
Our goal is to kind of like take this through and take that momentum and help us drive us straight into 24 and all the great things we want to do with AWS. So
that's right. So we can go help transform the world through AWS technology. Robert, how about you? Follow-up strategies for folks?
So in a time when you're going from meeting to meeting to meeting, after I leave every meeting, I leave myself a voice memo, because sometimes we're running around. So I use my phone. I leave myself a voice memo. And I've got great speech to text on my phone. And so I will leave myself a voice memo with the key follow-ups. And before I go to bed, right, I try to make sure it's sometimes tough in Vegas. And I just keep a log. Here are all the key meetings. Here are the key follow-ups. And then on the plane ride home, I just follow up and make sure I send a quick email. And even if there's going to be a flood of follow-ups, so even if people don't respond right away, I can just go back into my sent mail folder and then bump it up a week later. And that way, when I land back in New York, I know that kind of all that work is done. And that's my strategy.
That is a great strategy.
I've known Rob for almost 10 years. I'm pretty sure he doesn't sleep, because he's pretty sure he doesn't sleep. He's always on.
That's so funny. I love the idea of the voice memo. That is a brilliant idea. It's so light on the friction side. You can you just talk and move on. That's a killer idea. So I have one last thing before we finish up here, and that is strategies of how to stay connected. And that is, well, folks, just stick around. If you're not there, stick around with us here on LinkedIn. I'll be doing daily live streams talking about all the key announcements. We'll have some partners, we'll have some AWS folks on, we'll have some customers on. So that's going to be a great thing for you to pay attention to. It's going to be a whole lot of Jeff that last week of November into December. And I'd love for you guys to comment and do just like what you're doing now. But Robert, Josh, thank you both for taking the time to share some of these strategies about how to get the most out of the I'll call it the greatest show on earth.
Thanks for having us, Jeff.
Looking
forward to seeing you all in Vegas.
See you in Vegas. All right, guys. So that really is the next time you're going to see me. So we are not around next week. We're taking the week off for Thanksgiving. Thank you very much. I'm looking forward to that break. And then directly onto an airplane and off we go. and the show will begin. So we'll start on Tuesday with live streams and recorded content. The whole crew is going to be there. Our good buddy Chris is going to be there with his video crew. Megan's going to be out there shooting content, posting on social. So maybe even drag her onto the camera as well. And we look forward to seeing you at the AWS reInvent show coming up just in a couple of weeks. Everyone, I hope you have a great rest of your day. My name is Jeff DeVerter, Chief Technology Evangelist for us here at Rackspace Technology. If you have any questions about any of this stuff, just head over to rackspace.com/solve. If you're interested in any of the AI things we talked about, well, that's easy too. Just go to fair.rackspace.com. All right, I'll see you guys in 2 weeks from sunny Las Vegas.